Hey, this is your girl Noelle, and if you're tuning in for the first time, you are about to hear one of the very first story times on my channel. Let's go. So, this is the story time about how I got scammed out of a tour. So, it all began when I first moved to Texas. I had already set this up before prior because I wanted to perform maybe a month or so after I arrived, after I got my bearings and stuff. So I was able to get that done. It was $300 with the promise of having 2 interviews, performing at 2 venues like Houston, Dallas, and I got like a 15-20 minute set. So I felt like that made up for the $300 cost. So I paid for it. And the day of, I remember driving down to Houston because that was the first stop, and I was checking in and letting the organizer know that, well, let's call him, well, he was the DJ, so let's call him the DJ. So the DJ, who was one of the organizers, called him, let him know that, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm on my way to Houston. It says it's going to take me about 3.5 to 4 hours depending on traffic. And he said, oh, that's cool. I was like, oh, where are you coming from? He was like, I'm coming all the way from North Carolina, so you'll probably get there before I do. Hold up. I'm thinking that this dude lives in the state. Like, you're coming, because you could, it just didn't make any sense. Only for him to then say after, he was like, he just did a show the night before in North Carolina, and then he's gonna drive all the way down to Houston. And I was just like, could have been me. And during this whole time, while we're talking and going back and forth about what to expect when I get to the venue and stuff, he was basically saying oh, don't worry about it, I got you. And I was telling him, I was like, oh, what about the interview? Because I didn't get an address about the interview. I didn't know who was going to be interviewing me, so that way I can kind of get a chance to, I don't know, look and see who they are and stuff. He didn't say anything about that. Once I did get to Houston, I called him. I'm like, yo, I'm here. I know it's around this time where I'm supposed to start doing my interview. I think the interview was at like 5 or 6. And then he was like, oh, I just got a call from the guy who's supposed to do the interview and he can't do it. I was like, well, why not? And he said something with his wife. I'm like, there ain't nobody else. So I don't, maybe I was being a little bit unreasonable, but I was just like, man, I was just thinking, I'm like, I mean, I kind of paid for that interview, and when I was explaining to him, I'm like, yo, I paid, for the package, and part of the package is missing now. He was like, oh, don't worry about it. You still have your interview in Dallas, and I want to also mention that this was only a 2-day tour. So I think that day I went was Friday. Yeah, it was a Friday because the traffic was crazy. So I'm still a little peeved about me not having the interview, but I'm just like, you know what? I have the show. I'm just going to worry about it. So I got an Airbnb, went to my Airbnb, relaxed for a little bit before I had to hop over to the venue. When I got there, it was nobody there. Maybe a few people, maybe a few people, because I think they had something going on prior, and they were just wrapping up, and people were leaving. And the woman who was at the door when I came in, she would, as I was walking past, she was like, oh, you got to pay the door fee. Huh? Door fee? I was like, I'm performing. I paid for the tour. And she, with a straight face, she was like, still gotta pay the door fee. I was like, how much is the door fee? And she was like, $20. I was like, I wanted to leave. My bad, my husband called me. He making some delicious food. Get your man to cook. Anywho, um, oh man, I think by the time I got to the venue, it was like 7:45. Had to pay that little fucking $20. At least I'm glad I didn't have to pay for parking. Okay. Um, so I just sat there on my phone, trying not to, make sure my phone battery, dies out and stuff. I think I let my dad know that I had made it to the venue, you know. And so time and time and time and time keeps rolling on, and eventually, like, it's 10 o'clock now. I think, like, so 3 hours. Then the DJ finally arrives, and it takes him a minute to set up his equipment. I think it's like 35 minutes it takes him to set up his equipment and stuff. And I mean, I waited, and I wanted to give him a chance to get settled in because he just came from North Carolina. Shit. So, like, give him a chance to, get set up. So after he did that, I walked over to him and I was like, I had to pay $20 to get in here. I was like, I thought that the $300 was inclusive with everything. Like, once you pay that $300, I ain't gotta pay nothing else. I just gotta make sure that I'm there make sure I have transportation to get to and from the venue. And he was just like, oh, well, that's not on me, that's on the venue. I was like, huh? It just didn't make any sense to me. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Comment and give your input on, like, am I wrong? Am I wrong? Because I feel like if you pay for a tour, you're in there, it's including, like, the venue. I'm thinking that I'm paying for my entry as an artist into this venue to perform, have my little, do my little set, my little, my thing, and be about it, and not have to really worry about anything except, like, food and gas and maybe a place to stay. Like, okay, that was strike two. That was strike two. Anywho, after he set up and everything, and I had the conversation with him, I was just like, I knew I wasn't gonna get my $20 back. I'm sorry, I was kind of pressed about that $20 because I was like, damn, like, shit, gas. I needed gas. I didn't perform until like 12. There were like people that went in front of me because he was like, oh, this is supposed to be your tour. So, people are going to go in front of you. It was like an open mic kind of thing, which I was just like, okay. I don't remember him running any of this down with me during, like, our back and forth conversations on my way from, Dallas to Houston. He never said anything about that at all. Never said a mumbling word. And so I was just like, okay, I'm tired. And I had worked. I had worked before I had, like, left. I think before I left, I had ran quickly to grab my stuff. So that way, as soon as I got finished doing my job, I can just hit right on the road. And so I had been up since like 8 o'clock. It's now like 12. It's the next day. And I was like, I'm just now performing. I'm glad we did do some type of sound check. It still wasn't like the best. I couldn't, like, really hear myself on stage. And sometimes the bass was just too intrusive. And I felt like I was screaming instead of singing, and that was annoying me because I knew that, if I felt like putting a lot of strain on my voice, I was getting irritated, highly irritated. I was just trying to push through because I was like, you know what, this night is almost over. It's almost over. And once my set got done, people came up to me. They was like, "Oh, you're dope. You're cool." Exchange information and stuff. I stayed back and watched all the other acts go on. There was one act where it was like a group of like it seemed like it was like 15 boys, and it was like they were all together, and they all were on stage. It was like somebody did a song, then somebody passed the mic to the next person, passed the mic to the next. It was like, so I was basically, it was a lot. It was a lot. I was ready to go. And it sounded like the same song. Each of those songs sound like the same song, talking about the same shit. I was just like, I think that once they wrapped up, it was like around. No, I left. They were still performing. They were still people. They were. I think they were still performing, and I was like, they were on like the seventh or eighth dude, and I was like, I can't take it anymore. I got to go. So I lied, and I was like, I got work in. I got work in the morning, so I gotta head out tonight. It wasn't true. I just wanted to go home and get some actual fucking sleep before I had to get up early in the morning, make it to Dallas, spend some time with my family, and then head to the next show. Um, but it doesn't end like eight or nine. Put some gas in my car, headed back to Dallas, spent some time with my family, and then this was also supposed. This is Sunday. No, Saturday. We're on Saturday, and I was supposed to have an interview, and so I'm calling the guy. Hey, so am I gonna get my interview today? Yeah, you're gonna get your interview. Don't worry about it. Make sure make sure you're ready around this time. I'll send you the address. I want to say we spoke around noon. I didn't hear from that guy until it was time for the show. And then once I arrived to the venue, I was like, interview. What happened? What happened? Oh yeah, that guy is something came up. It was just like, and the same thing went on. Like other people had to go before me before I performed. I don't even remember us doing a sound check. And I think at that point, I completely like checked out. I just wanted to perform and get the fuck on. So once I performed, maybe I saw like a couple of more people, and I was just like, okay, this is my time to exit. Stage left. And I was like, I told him, I was like, yeah, I gotta go. And he was like, oh, I'm really sorry about the interview. Um, do you have time on Sunday? And I've I was like, yeah, I have time on Sunday. He was like, we'll do your interview then. I promise you. I promise you. Guess what happened on Sunday? Time came and went. Time came and went. And he was like, they're not here. And trust me, this time he actually gave me the address. Gave me the address, pulled up, nobody there. Nobody. I was just so irritated. I felt like I needed my $150 back. That's what I felt like, or at least 100, at least 100, because I felt like you made me waste my time, made me waste my gas. Yeah, and after that day, I really haven't. And after that day, I really haven't heard from him since. The last thing he did say, he was just like, "Oh yeah, it's the music business. It happens." Da da da. I was just like, so like to me, I was like, am I supposed to expect inconsistency and people like lying to me in this industry? I guess so. And I mean, this wasn't the first time I was lied. This, and I will find out this wouldn't be the first time that I was lied to about some of the other events that I had that I had ended up doing after. Not with him, but with other people who had, like, organized stuff. But this is my story, and honestly, if you can save your money and try to figure out ways to take $300 and put on your own show, put together your EPK, put out some content. I'm trying to put out some more content. Um, if somebody was like, I want you to perform, you know, I want you to perform at my event, I feel like as artists we should be getting paid. I feel like a lot of people take advantage of us, and know that we are trying to do something and try to go somewhere, and that type of predatory practice is why, like, a lot of reasons why some people stop doing music, you know but I hope you enjoyed my story. I don't know how long it is. I'll edit it and stuff. So many other things that I'll be doing on this channel. I'll be doing, covers. Definitely not doing no makeup tutorials. I'm so, it gives me anxiety just thinking about it. But I appreciate each and every one of y'all. If you like the story, if you have any comments, please comment, like, share the video. If I have any, tours, if I have any tours, or if I have any gigs, I'll post them down below. If you want to follow me on social media, I'll also post it down below. If you want to follow my music, I'll also post it down below. And